Tonight, after the storm, anger and frustration.
We have no water except drinking water, no electric.
Why did you decide to stay?
As lines for gas grow longer, tempers grow short. Millions spend another night in the dark, but help is on the way. Our team of CBS News correspondents will bring you extensive coverage of the long road to recovery from Hurricane Sandy.
This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley, reporting tonight from Long Beach Island, New Jersey.
Good evening. This barrier island on the New Jersey shore is one of the areas hit hardest by Hurricane Sandy. In a moment, we'll show you what the storm did to this community and talk to some of the people who live here. They're facing a fourth day without power as the nights grow colder. But first, the number of people who lost their lives in this storm is now up to at least 87 in 9 states. In New York City, firefighters and police went door to door, checking on residents. Mayor Michael Bloomberg said the death toll in the city is up to 37 now. Today, police recovered the bodies of 2 Staten Island children who were literally torn from their mother's arms and swept away on floodwaters Monday. Millions of people in 11 states, from Virginia to New Hampshire, are spending a fourth night in the dark. Nearly 4.5 million homes and businesses are without electricity. But the cavalry is on the way. The Air Force is shipping utility trucks and power generators from California aboard 17 aircraft. And the New York City subways started running again, but the service was very limited. That meant long lines for buses.
Watch your step. Be careful with the person in front of you.
And even longer lines of cars crossing the bridges into Manhattan. In New Jersey and on Long Island, cars lined up as far as the eye could see for gasoline. Many stations are closed, either out of gas or without power for the pumps. In some parts of New York City, the lines were for food and water. 52,000 homeowners in 16 states and Washington, D.C. have filed insurance claims, including nearly 10,000 here in New Jersey. In this part of the state, Long Beach Island, homes were not just flooded, but destroyed, like the one behind me. The New Jersey National Guard helped rescue folks from the island. A mandatory evacuation order was in effect at the time, but many people chose to stay behind. Let us show you what parts of Long Beach Island used to look like. As a point of reference, notice the White House at the bottom of the cul-de-sac, the one with the pool. Now, look at it today. That's the White House, wrecked, and the street is now a canal. Long Beach Island has 150,000 residents in the summer, but today we found it mostly empty. The National Guard is on patrol. Earth movers are clearing roads of tons of beach sand. Piles of debris are rising in parking lots. Among the only residents here today were Frank and Sandra Smith. They rode out the storm. They're in day 3 without power, and the utility may shut off the gas in town tonight as a safety precaution.
It's been several days now since the storm. What has it been like living here on the island?
Cold, dreary. We have no water except drinking water, no electric.
Why did you decide to stay?
Because we knew if we left, we couldn't come back. They won't let, if we leave now, we can't come back. Would you like to see inside?
What does it look like in there?
Pretty awful.
Well, let's have a look real quick. You had water up to your knees, at least, in this room.
Yeah.
You were watching the ocean go by the front door.
Yeah.
On the way to the bay.
Yeah, right down the street.
What did you think?
You know what? I thought, I'm really sad this happened, but I'm so glad we're here.
You wanted to see it.
I did.
Why?
An experience. I have experienced something amazing. And if it's going to happen, if you're going to lose all this stuff, you may as well get to have the excitement of seeing it.
Mrs. Smith told us that some of the stuff that she lost includes all of her Christmas presents, which she had already purchased. In New York City, just getting around has been a challenge. 2 tunnels that were flooded remain closed to traffic. And in Lower Manhattan, no power means the traffic lights are out. You might understand why New Yorkers are getting a little fed up. Jim Axelrod is there tonight. Jim?
Well, Scott, this water-filled tunnel behind me is just one of the many challenges Sandy has left for New Yorkers who are facing a transportation nightmare.
I'm yelling!
On this road into New York City, gasoline may be hard to find, but frustration certainly is not.
Get in front of me! Get in front of me! It'll make you happy! Sweetie, let's go!
Supply isn't the problem. It's the power blackouts that are keeping pumps from operating. AAA says just a third of stations are open in New Jersey and Long Island. This line was 3 hours long.
Work the wait!
Hours waiting for gas is followed by hours to get over a bridge or through a tunnel.
We can't go into the Brooklyn Bridge.
To reduce congestion, police are turning away cars with less than 3 people until midnight tomorrow.
Move the line to the front. Let's go.
New York City buses resumed running today, and they were crammed tight. Cedric Taylor is a security guard headed back to work.
You got to be a little patient because they're slowly trying to recover for you.
Among the people doing the most to ease congestion are Tommy Coyne and his crew. They work for a marine salvage company that's been drafted into emptying flooded tunnels. How crazy is what you're looking at in terms of work?
We're used to doing salvage work, ships that have sunk, stuff like that, but this is on land, it's a whole different animal.
But in New York City tonight, it's all hands on deck, and these men are happy to help.
You can think about it this way, water is water, we take pumps, we pump it out and put it back where it came from, and hopefully it's done in a few days.
In fact, Scott, the water we just showed you Tommy pumping is from the tunnel behind me. He says he hopes to have that tunnel cleared out and ready to go within the next couple of days.
Jim, I wondered, has the power company said anything about when they expect to restore the electricity in New York?
Yeah, there's 227,000 people at last count without power in Manhattan. Con Ed, the power company, says they hope to have power restored to all of Manhattan by Saturday.
Jim, thanks. To give you a better idea of how many New Yorkers were left in the dark by Sandy, have a look at this. Here's the city's skyline before the storm, and this is how it looked after the lights went out in Lower Manhattan. The blackout left an untold number of elderly and disabled folks stranded in high-rise apartment buildings. Michelle Miller found New Yorkers are stepping up to help them.
In the dark and narrow staircase of Lower Manhattan's Seward Park apartment complex, we heard the echo of Nick Caswell's footsteps.
3, 4, 5, 6.
To make his way through, the 62-year-old counts every step.
You gotta slow down for us, buddy. Hold up, Nick.
Seward lost power Monday night, plunging 4,000 residents into darkness. Since then, Caswell has been the only lifeline to the outside world for at least 7 families. Today, he was headed to the 20th floor.
Well, we've got a message to try and help these people, whoever they are.
I'm going up.
He first stopped to visit 92-year-old Lily Lifflander. She lives on floor 16.
If people hadn't been helping you, would you be?
I'd feel stranded.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Caswell finally got to apartment 2006.
How you doing? I was recruited by the building to see what you need.
Elaine Brody and Mark Hens were the couple behind the door.
We really felt isolated.
So when folks knocked on the door, what was your first thought?
Gratefulness. Yes. Even if you just came to say hello, how are you?
The couple hasn't been outside since the elevator stopped running Monday night.
Coming up is really a hardship for us.
So that's why we stayed up here.
We stayed up here, and we knew it would be a commitment to walk down because we wouldn't be coming back up.
3 days without a working fridge, and the cupboard is almost bare. So Caswell heads back to the stairwell, out the front door, and to the food distribution center 2 buildings over.
Please and thank you. That's what I want in life, that's all. You know? It's a nice thing.
So it's back up the stairs to the people who depend on him.
We appreciate that.
Michelle Miller, CBS News, New York.
Thank you for your comment.
We wondered today if Sandy was just a Category 1 hurricane, why did it do so much damage? Well, our hurricane consultant, David Bernard, says one factor is size. 20 years ago, when Hurricane Andrew hit South Florida, it was a Category 5 with 160-mile-an-hour winds. But its winds extended just 280 miles across. Sandy was 820 miles wide, 2.5 times the size of Andrew. Another factor was the storm's surge and its direction. Sandy's surge pushed a wall of water toward the most densely populated part of the country during a high tide with a full moon, a formula for disaster. But not even a storm like Sandy can postpone Election Day. Today, New Jersey officials said county clerks' offices have been ordered to stay open all weekend to help process mail-in ballots. And in some hard-hit areas, military trucks will serve as polling places on Tuesday. With 5 days till the election, the presidential campaign is back on. Americans appear to be back in the mood to spend. And after the storm, it's dinner by candlelight, along with every other meal, when the CBS Evening News continues. Just 5 days now until Election Day. Early voting continued today in all 50 states. This was the voting in Maryland. We have reports from both campaigns tonight. First, Nancy Cordes with the president in the swing state of Nevada. Nancy?
Scott, White House aides are making sure we know that the president is still conducting the federal response to Sandy while he's on the road, making conference calls to governors in the storm area between rallies. But he's also making up for lost time, hitting 3 or 4 states a day between now and the election.
The president bounded back onto the campaign trail wearing a bomber jacket emblazoned with his title, Commander-in-Chief.
It is good to be back in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
At each stop, he started by sharing lessons from Hurricane Sandy.
When disaster strikes, we see America at its best. One country. All the petty differences that consume us in normal times all seem to melt away.
Both sides acknowledge the storm provided Mr. Obama with a valuable opportunity to show bipartisan leadership in the closing days of this race. Republican New Jersey governor and Romney supporter Chris Christie repeatedly praised the president's performance and his compassion.
You're going to be okay. Everybody's safe, right?
Today, Mr. Obama was back in campaign mode, deriding Governor Romney's promise to bring change to Washington.
Another $5 trillion tax cut that favors the wealthy isn't change. Turning Medicare into a voucher is change, but we don't want that change.
The president's schedule over the next 5 days tells you a lot about his campaign strategy. He'll be spending a great deal of time in Ohio and Wisconsin trying to build a Midwest firewall to prevent Governor Romney, Scott, from getting 270 electoral votes.
Well, Nancy, Governor Romney went hunting for votes today in another swing state, Virginia, and Jan Crawford is covering his campaign.
We really can't have 4 more years like the last 4 years. I know the Obama folks are chanting 4 more years, 4 more years. But our chant is this: 5 more days.
At a rally in Virginia, a campaign cheer was also a reminder of how little time is left.
5 more days, 5 more days.
Before the hurricane, Romney had momentum. The race was in a dead heat, and he was tied or within striking distance in battleground states. But the storm knocked him off the front pages at a crucial time in the race. On Monday and Tuesday, he canceled rallies. And back on the trail yesterday in Florida, he toned down his criticism of the president. Today in Virginia, Romney was back on his economic message with sharp attacks on President Obama.
And his campaign and his address is all about attacking. We actually have a plan to get this economy going. We're going to put it in place to help the American people.
Now, before this storm, Romney was actually leading the president on the questions of which candidate would be a stronger leader and which one would be better at working with Democrats and Republicans. If he loses ground, Scott, on either one of those questions, that could be a sign the storm hurt him.
Thanks, Jan. The last report on the unemployment rate before the election will come out tomorrow. Today, a new survey found that consumer confidence in the economy is the highest it's been in more than 4.5 years. That's a sign that Americans are in the mood to spend more, which could give the economy a boost. A family stranded in the suburbs tries to get by without the basics. Their story is next. East of New York City, power is still out at more than half the homes and businesses on Long Island, where 2.6 million people live. Seth Doan in Freeport tells us that the folks there have been forced into a 21st century version of frontier life.
Everything has been touched by Sandy.
Jacqueline Mattis drives the local school bus in Freeport. But no power means no school. And at home, it means a lot of candles.
I keep it lit, actually, but we watch it. I don't sleep.
You don't sleep?
No.
What do you mean?
Because I have to make sure that we don't burn down.
Her daughter, Ebony Thomas, is home to help her clean up her flooded basement. The dental office where Thomas works is closed too, but no power there likely means no paycheck.
It's November 1st and bills need to be paid and I don't have, money.
It's come down to eating cans of tuna. There's no heat, no lights, no hot water.
You're taking a cold shower and then you're coming from the cold water into the cold air.
A tree down and the family car flooded.
What happens if the car won't start and insurance won't cover it?
I really don't want to think about that, but I know that my plan B or C, at this point I'm not really sure which alphabet number I'm at on my plans yet.
Then there are the little things.
On K-Joy, they said the library is charging phones, so we'll walk over there.
At Freeport Library, just down the street, we found the most important resources were power and heat.
It's been cold some nights.
Cold?
But
dark and cold.
Kareem Jarrett Lewis, a science teacher, made sure that her son Amani didn't miss his schoolwork, even though school was closed.
So we're here not only for homework, but for warmth, and I guess to be around people.
These libraries have become a sort of refuge, Scott, but they're a refuge that close at 9 p.m.
Seth, thanks very much. A chemical fire at the scene of a train derailment near Louisville, Kentucky, is now down to what's called a controlled burn. It started as an explosion yesterday. Workers used a blowtorch, ignited the fumes that were leaking from a tanker car. Several of them were badly burned. The storm washed away homes here on Long Beach Island, but not the memories. That story is next. Back now from Long Beach Island. This is the place Billy Joel sang about, where folks whose fathers fought the Second World War spent their weekends on the Jersey Shore. For them, it was a summer paradise, but for others, Ben Tracy tells us, it's a year-round home.
It's Long Beach Island. People call it LBI, the island.
For most of her life, Leslie Houston has called this island home.
Once you've been here and you've got the sand in your shoes, you never want to leave. It's a legacy, it's a life. It's what your hometown means to you if you spent 53 years there.
Which is why it's so hard to see it shattered.
What do you think of what's happened to your island?
We've gotten a real slap in the face.
Few things were spared on this strip of resort towns, which since the late 1800s has been a haven for fishermen and sunseekers.
You know, they were in their petticoats and all that. That's how this island started. It was a vacation spot for the people in Philadelphia.
10,000 people live here year-round, but in the summer the population swells to 100,000, with families vacationing in towns named Ship Bottom, Surf City, and Brant Beach.
Atlantic City's about 13, 14 miles due south of us here.
Glenn Reitinger's family built their first summer home here in 1949.
A lot of folks here that live here are teachers, are I'll say regular middle class folks who were able to get, a lot of times, get on the island or get a piece of property before the prices really skyrocketed.
With its sandy beaches, amusement park, and quaint candy shops, this is normally a summer paradise, but it's also a place that has known its share of disasters.
And my family owned a house right there. They bought it right after the '62 storm.
The 1962 nor'easter ripped this place apart, as did a hurricane in 1944. But each time, LBI bounced back. Now, 3 days after Sandy, signs of strength are on display.
We are Jersey strong. It's going to come back. Maybe not this summer, but it's going to come back.
Because this is a place built on summer memories that can never be swept away. Ben Tracy, CBS News, Long Beach Island.
With thanks to the folks here on Long Beach Island and the help of the New Jersey National Guard. That's the CBS Evening News for tonight. For all of us at CBS News all around the world, I'm Scott Pelley on Long Beach Island in New Jersey. Good night.